President Buhari declares open IPI World Conference, expresses satisfaction with the new image of Nigeria.
Chief of Air Staff meets field commanders on ways to reposition the Air Force for operational efficiency.
Federal government renews commitment to containing tuberculosis and other diseases in the country as 61st National Council on Health holds Abuja.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall examine how to halt rice smuggling into Nigeria.
Just a few days ago, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Abuja, indicated Nigeria's plan to shut down land borders over rice smuggling into the country.
Now, the move, according to the federal government, is to nip in the bud attempts by a neighboring country that is bent, according to the government, on destroying Nigeria's economy and discouraging local production of rice.
Now, the minister said shutting the borders had become necessary to encourage local production and sustain the economy of the country.
Now, reports already indicate that the federal government of Nigeria has reduced drastically rice importation by some 95%, and that is from some 644,000 tons to just about 20,000 tons, and all of this achieved between 2015 and 2017.
Nigeria is said to have lost huge revenues and jobs at the national borders in recent times as a result of the rice smuggling into the country, amounting to billions of naira. So,
one first question to ask is, what are the implications of the continuing smuggling of rice into Nigeria on the nation's economy? And what also happens to the MOU, that's the Memorandum of Understanding, signed between the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria and the Nigeria Customs Service to curb rice smuggling into the country? And what is the challenge, after all, of stemming the tide of smuggling through land borders? We'd like to thank you for joining us today on Friday on Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you as always on the network service of Africa's largest television network. My name is Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to the program.
And I am Nigerian Umayo saying it's good to have you on the show this morning. And as usual, we shall present our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. But for now, let's take news highlights for this morning with Lydia Ochi. Good to have you, Lydia.
Good to see you this morning, Kirian. Good morning and welcome to the news segment. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed satisfaction with the confidence the world is exhibiting towards Nigeria. The president expressed the satisfaction while declaring open this year's International Press Institute's World Conference being hosted by Nigeria.
Where the borderline between hate speech and free speech has become blurred, good journalism matters. In an environment where fake news dwarfs investigative reporting, good journalism matters. For survival in an increasingly competitive field, good journalism matters.
In a clear demonstration of care and concern for the people in need, President Muhammadu Buhari has paid a sympathy visit to Bauchi State over the recent windstorm and fire that wreaked havoc at the Pearl of Tourism. And with 13 million internally displaced persons in 19 countries, Africa is the continent most affected by internal displacement. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo disclosed this while declaring open the 7th meeting of Ministers of Defense of member states of the Community of Sahel and Sahara States.
This is not a battle for militaries and intelligence agencies alone. If it were, there would be no serious cause for alarm. This is a fight that cannot and will not be won without a collective and determined focus on all those elements that entrench poverty, want, and conflict amongst the people of the community.
And now to security matters. In view of the ongoing transformation to reposition the Nigerian Air Force to be a more formidable force, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, held a strategic meeting with field commanders on strategies to enhance effective discharge of its constitutional duties.
No institution or organization is perfect. Along the line, you must from time to time take stock of what you are doing, to see whether you are really getting to where you want to get to, and also consult with commanders in the field so that you begin to hear what their feelings are. Are there issues of policy that is affecting their effectiveness?
And now to health. The federal government has renewed its commitment to containing tuberculosis and other diseases in the country. Minister of Health Professor Isaac Adewale said this at the 61st National Council on Health meeting in Kano.
It is also important that this document provides significant improvements on the first plan that have been reflected in the present plan. The second plan is more comprehensive, inclusive, and holistic, and addresses all important activities in the health sector.
The present administration, despite the economic crunch, has shown its commitment to improve sometimes poor health indices.
And now the 2018 budget. Capital spending and the 2018 budget will favor critical projects in infrastructure. Minister of Budget and National Planning Udo Udoma, while giving a breakdown of the just signed budget in Abuja, added that government is maintaining its fiscal stance to consolidate on previous projects.
We want to fire on the two cylinders of oil and non-oil. We need oil to help us to develop non-oil. And that is why we're looking at the joint venture oil assets to take some from oil and move into non-oil.
And that's the news this morning. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Kirian after this time out. Good morning.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Winning in hot and dry conditions is hard. causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
If you don't get money, hide your face. You can call me small doctor. Omo ya teacher. What's it bad penalty or throwing?
The smartphone network.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils.
Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors.
Strepsils. Strepsils.
Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try new Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. New Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes, germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now we go to business. Federal government takes measures to address funding gaps that may arise from the scaling down of development partners' funding to the country. For more on business news, let's join Kunle Adeye.
The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma, has inaugurated the Technical Working Group for the Nigeria Aid Transition Plan. The group has the mandate to develop a comprehensive strategy for addressing the funding gaps that may arise with the scaling down of development partner funding to Nigeria. This, the minister says, is in line with the resolve of the current administration to drive effective planning as the bedrock of its developmental strategy and be proactive in the face of emerging challenges. Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Aisha Abubakar, has called for the establishment of specialized markets in the country to preserve the gains recorded in the agricultural sector. The minister, who stated this during an interactive session with Agricultural Traders Welfare Association, pointed the need to establish cargo airports in close proximity to these markets to facilitate easy movement of goods. And to the capital market, where equities closed Thursday on a negative note as the Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index depreciated by 1.17%. And next is the graphic representation of the closing figures on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The move towards enhanced and more effective protection of investors' interest in the Nigerian financial market took a significant turn as the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has approved the registration of Association of Corporate and Individual Investment Advisors as the official trade group for registered investment advisors in the country. By this development, all 160 corporate individual investment advisors in Nigeria registered by the Commission are expected to adopt and adhere to the professional code of the ethics and standards of the practice of the Association of Corporate and Individual Investment Advisors. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
All right, thank you very much there for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us now, we are reviewing the front pages of today's newspapers.
Always nice to welcome Bayo Atoyabi, our newspaper reviewer on Good Morning Nigeria. And today is the last edition of the program. Bayo,
for the week, you mean?
For the week. Bayo, tell us about yesterday's match. You watched Argentina?
Yes. Yesterday's match can be described classically as an upset. And that was what made the World Cup tick. When a low-rated team defeats the superstars, everybody, Argentina is among the teams that have been rated high to win the World Cup, and now they were submerged 3-0. That makes World Cup interesting.
And Kinsley has been celebrating it because one of the Real Madrid players...
Nigeria will be celebrating today.
Yeah, Bayo.
Hopefully.
Thanks for your comment, but I'm wondering, on what basis would you say that Croatia was lowly ranked or lowly rated? I mean, that's... if you look at their performance 20 years ago at the 1998 World Cup that took place in France, I mean, they did well, of course.
20 years was
and then that's 20 years, of course. But when you look at the team, most of the players there, they play for top European clubs. And virtually, again, nearly most of them, participated in the last 16 of this year's European Champions League. I mean, their captain, of course, Luka Modric, plays for Real Madrid. Yeah. And then you have other, tight midfield that they have. And it wasn't a surprise that they crushed Argentina and now living virtually Lionel Messi, at the mercy of Nigeria when we take on them. So this World Cup dream is virtually turning into a nightmare.
Well, but it's not only professionals that play football well. Iceland team that has surprised everybody. Among their team, they have about 5 to 6 doctors. In fact, the coach is a professional dentist.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Football,
that's right. Before Nigerians turned to professional soccer, with Stephen Keshi, taking the lead, we used to have virtual amateurs.
Yes.
And but for the fact that we lost to Tunisia in 1977, we would have been at the World Cup in 1978 with all of them virtually amateurs. Bayo, let's take a look at the front pages of the papers that we have this morning. There are stories, of course, on politics, stories also on the media, and matters arising from the budget. Let's begin with This Day newspaper. This Day is our first port of call. Let's say from top to bottom, right away above the nameplate of the paper, Oshomole inches towards victory as Ebri withdraws, and convention committee in last-minute preparations. That's, of course, with regard to the All Progressives Congress convention taking place in Abuja tomorrow. NNPC extends $6 billion oil swaps contracts to end of 2018. Details of that story can be found on page 8. Now, below the nameplate, and this from an event yesterday, halt hate speech and fake news. Buhari tasks journalists with a rider. Obagbena advocates robust journalism to tackle security and immigration challenges. And you see the photograph there from the front page taken from the event at the opening of the World Congress of the IPI, that's International Press Institute in Abuja yesterday. Lead story for the paper says with a kicker, 2018 budget. No security vote for presidency, says Udoma. Udoma is Minister of Budget and National Planning. And then you have 3 riders there. 2.87 trillion for capital expenditure. Power, Works and Housing gets lion's share 715 billion, and federal government to borrow 1.634 trillion to finance 1.95 trillion naira deficit. All right.
All right. Let's turn to the Daily Sun. And beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun, federal government defense policy on cattle ranches with a rider. It's not new, says Interior Minister. The story is on page 6. And now to the main headline now of Daily Sun. Abuja comes alive with APC convention. Governors clear coast for Oshomole with a rider adopts consensus as Ebri withdraws. And now besides the photograph of on the Daily Sun front page, IPI Congress, Buhari highlights gains of good journalism. Page 6 has details of that story. Then killings, DSS arrests ex-Benue governor Suswam. With the rider, Iswa Boko Haram leaders also. All right, now Elza Zaki, police inspector killed at shared protest in Kaduna. It's on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Sun. And now, just below the photograph, military announces 5 million reward on Boko Haram's site. It's on page 5 of the Daily Sun. Bayo.
Yes, let's start with the IPI, International Press Institute World Congress that is opening in Abuja yesterday and actually commencing effectively today. 40 countries have converged on Abuja for the 67th IPI World Congress. Barbara Triumfi, Executive Director of IPP, observed that there is good peace and freedom, at least in the atmosphere in Nigeria. He says IPI mission is to ensure that journalists can work freely in Nigeria. In Turkey, he pointed out 14 journalists were arrested, but with the intervention of the IPI, they have been released. The IPI therefore appealed for the release of a journalist detained for 2 years in Nigeria. However, the Minister of Information has indicated that he was not informed about it. The spokesperson for the president, Garba Shehu, says that Mr. Jones Ebiri, who parades himself as a journalist, is being held by the Department of State Security due to alleged involvement in military and criminal activities. Therefore, he was not arrested for his journalistic activities. President Muhammadu Buhari, who had to rush from Bauchi to deliver his keynote speech at the conference, harped on good journalism, and he emphasized hate speech, fake news. They are the antithesis of good journalism. He remarked that the IPI haven't assessed Nigeria to be safe. That is why probably they offered the hosting right to Nigeria. He pointed out the source of journalism, particularly hate speech and hate news, and he kept on emphasizing good journalism matters.
All right, on this issue of IPI, Kinsley and Bayo, it does seem that Turkey has the highest number of jailed journalists globally. There are other nations, actually, but I think Turkey has taken the lead in that direction.
Yes, of recent it has been so. And don't forget too that Turkey has been involved in some crises. Involved in the Syrian crisis, it has a leg into it. There has been a series attempts of coup, botched coup, and attempted coup. And there are instances whereby some journalists have been alleged to be involved in those botched coup. So it is a gray area. Specifically, you may not be able to say whether the journalists were actually detained for their journalistic activities or supposedly their involvement in political activities. But the IPI had interceded on their behalf.
Yes, interceded, no doubt about that. There's been, of course, if you recall, after the last coup attempt, there was a crackdown nationwide on virtually all the professions. Yes, virtually all the professions, and the media obviously wasn't left out of this, and that's why you continue to have the kind of stories coming out with regard to the imprisonment or continued detention of journalists out of Turkey. But Bayo, you recall yesterday at the opening of the IPI Congress, the story of the Nigerian journalist who is said to have been detained for about 2 years now came virtually as a surprise to most Nigerian journalists who were present in that hall.
Yes, like the special assistant to the president explained, he said that the gentleman was arrested by the officers of the State Department because of his involvement in activities that are not journalistic. And the Minister of Information also indicated that, in fact, the case has not been brought to him. One of the issues that was raised, and is a requirement in Nigeria, is that if you practice as a journalist in Nigeria, you ought to be registered with the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And the special assistant to the president indicated that the person who has been arrested is not known to all these associations.
But one aspect of the issue is the fact that they have not told Nigerians exactly what he did, because if he was involved in non-journalistic activities, what is that activity? I mean, what, to be able to arrest him and incarcerate him for 2 years, I'm not sure he has been tried up to this moment.
Well, probably security related, but sure, let me not speculate on behalf of that. But if he was in the line of duty, then the ball is now in the court of the appropriate authorities, since the matter is right now in the open. Yeah, let's take other headlines from the Nigerian Tribune this time. Immediately below the flag of the Nigerian Tribune, Southeast senators express shock over Enugu Airport budget cuts. Buhari has no security vote. Again, that story is attributed to the federal government, and government to borrow 1.95 trillion naira to fund deficit. And National Assembly, not department in presidency. That's according to Senator Dino Melaye. Details of that story can be found on page 7. The APC convention, we already read that. Says horse trading intensifies as road clears for Shomole, and NPDP members will attend. That's according to Baraje. The story on responsible journalism is also there, right on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Says responsible journalism necessary for good governance, and that's according to President Buhari. As Dan Bazao blames state governors for insecurity and independent journalism under attack. That's the IPI director speaking at the event yesterday. Suspected herdsmen killed family of 4 in Plateau. And police inspector killed as Shiites clash with law enforcement agencies. DSS arrests 2 suspected IS commanders in Abuja. IS stands for Islamic State. Details of that story, page 9.
Now, let's quickly run through the punch for today, from top to bottom. Well, beginning with loans, bank will demand more collateral from firms, says the CBN, is on page 30. And then below that, we have Eagles play Iceland in crucial Group D tie with 2 riders. We won't lose to Iceland, says Raw, that's the gaffer of Nigeria. And of course, Saraki to chair our Eagles. Buhari calls for good journalism as IPI Congress begins in Abuja. We read that story in other newspapers. That's on page 9 of the Punch. Southeast senators, IYC, Kako reject budget cuts. With their rider, how federal government will raise 9.1 trillion naira to fund 2018 budget, Udoma says. All right. Now, the main headline on the Punch is DSS arrests ISIS commanders in FCT. Page 12 and 42 have that story. And then detains ex-governor Suswam. PDP is kicking. Now, below the photograph is actually that of the post office area in Akure, Ondo State Capital, that was gutted by fire. Below that, we have Mike Adenuga's son lover clash over child custody. Page 4 and 5 is where you get the story. Convicted lawyer Nwobike stopped from using SAN title. Is on page 10. Now, El Zazaki shot protesters, stone policeman to death in Kaduna, is on page 43. Fayose can only vote and return to a file on election day, says Fayemi. Bye.
Well, let's talk about stories about security. The Department of State says they have arrested 2 persons who have been identified as masterminds belonging to ISIS in a suburb of the Federal Capital Territory. The village is known as Kukuntu and is near Gwagwalada. This arrest was carried out in May 5th. Another one was also arrested in a market that is known as Mudalawar Market in Bauchi. And this brings to about 3 or 4 such suspected persons that have been arrested. You recall that earlier this week, a London newspaper has raised an alarm that some terrorist persons have found their way from Syria to Nigeria and probably were heading towards London. Talking about the budget, there have been reactions about budget, and as the nation awaits the promised press conference by members of the National Assembly, the slashing of 4,700 projects worthy of 347 billion and replacing them with 6,403 projects worth 578 billion by the National Assembly, as well as increasing their budget from 125 billion to 139 billion, has occasioned reactions. Senators from the Southeast have cried out over the reduction of the funding for the Enugu Airport Terminal building. The senator representing Abia says that we are concerned and we are determined to find out who made that cut. Another organization, Socio-Economic Right Agenda, has said that they are tampering with the budget, particularly in the areas that relate to health, education, and security, constitute gross human rights violation, and they are advising that they should be tried at the ICC. Ijaw Youth Congress has also lended its voice. They said the motive of the National Assembly is self-serving because they had reduced the budget meant for the Nigerian Maritime University. Lawmakers have also expressed concerns. Apart from the senators caucus from the Southeast, a lawmaker from Kogi says that National Assembly is not an extension of the presidency, and therefore lawmakers are no rubber stamp for the nation. Senator from Yobe states that the presidency is not bound to implement the signed budget 100%. So, hues and cries about the budget.
Yeah, well, that's of course it's going to linger, particularly questions pertaining to the extent of the powers of the legislature to tamper with the appropriation bill. That's to say, the estimates and what to do. I mean, there have been decisions on that effect. Yes, that the National Assembly, indeed the legislature, has the powers of appropriation. There's no question about that. But my concern, and I haven't seen this addressed, my concern is this. The power of appropriation is not exercised in isolation. It is exercised in conjunction with the management of the economy, if you like, overall management of the economy. And if, therefore, there are distortions arising from appropriation, what happens to the overall management of the economy?
Yes, because it is new. Honestly, in the history of this country, this is the Fourth Republic, and this time around we are hearing apportioning, in fact, budgeting for themselves. Because what Nigerians want to believe now is the fact that the cuts made, created an avenue through which the members of the National Assembly now they appropriated some funds to themselves because they want to reach out to their constituents. Right. So it's complex and conflicting, constitutionally speaking, from what the president said yesterday. Yes. Right. That it is the task of the executive to budget, because the executive knows how to implement the policies and projects of government.
Yes. The budget proposal is the function of the executive and is predicated on the economic recovery program, the midterm program of the government. However, the role of the appropriation is that of the National Assembly. Whether or not the National Assembly can propose a budget and appropriate for itself raises the question of check and balances. If the role of the National Assembly is to check the executive by scrutinizing the budget, who checks the National Assembly when they propose budget and approve same for themselves?
That's
So these are the questions.
By a pertinent question, but again, don't forget, appropriation is only one aspect, critical aspect
like you pointed out,
managing the economy. All right, Bayo, let's take a look at this editorial, which is from the Daily Independent, and it's on page 16. The headline of the editorial is the National Livestock Transformation Plan. Actually, it focuses on the proposed cattle ranches, and it says that the 6-point plan by the federal government to end farmers and herders crisis that has caused untimely deaths over the past years should provide a big relief to the country. But it points out that there are gray areas in the program. And then one of those gray areas the editorial points out is, for instance, who is going to fund it. That the Minister of Agriculture said that, the program will roll out in a matter of days. But the editorial points out that both the federal and state governments have no relevant appropriations in their current budgets. And it's also not clear whether states will be willing to fund the scheme when some of them are already saying that there will be no land available for herders. Additionally, it says that government should expect some protests against public funds to set up an economic initiative that will ultimately benefit private cattle entrepreneurs, seen already to be worthy enough to fund the enterprise.
Well, before we talk about the editorial, it will be unfair to Nigerians if we don't talk about the match of the Super Eagles today. We all wish them the best of luck. As it is now, Croatia is leading 6 points on the table. Nigeria has no point. Argentina is hanging in there with 1 point. Critically, if Nigeria, we pray, summons Iceland today, if they generate enough heat to melt the iceberg packed in front of the Iceland goal, then Nigeria will be able to score 3 points and come close to Croatia.
But that's
however,
it's a very huge task.
It is a huge task, but it's not surmountable.
Because the Icelanders are fighting. They said they're going to take on Nigeria as if it's a World Cup finals.
Yes.
That's what the coach said. That's the strategy.
And Nigerians too are, if you want, fighters too.
All right.
Particularly when you push them to the wall. And Captain Mikel Obi said for the past few days they have trained and strategized and they hope they will win today. Coach General says there's no pressure on him. He had better start thinking of pressure because 119 Nigerians are under pressure. Now the editorial. Already the Abia State government had indicated that it has no land for ranches. Surprisingly, the governor of Abia was chairman of the National Economic Council team committee that went around the country and recommended this measure of ranching to Nigeria. The dilemma, however, is that how do you fund an entrepreneur that is patently private and has become a factor of causing criminal activities and threat to security in Nigeria? To what extent should government be involved in this? But these are the nitty-gritties that will need to be sorted out following the plan brought by the National Economic Council and with the need to also address the security challenges arising from the killings.
All right. That's the much that we can take with regard to a review of the newspapers. The Eagles are playing later this afternoon.
Yes.
And I'm sure that after 90 minutes we would know what our fate is. Our fate is squarely in our hands.
Yes.
Bayo, thanks a lot for being around. We'll see you again next week because this is the last edition for a review of papers. It's still Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with our topic for conversation this morning, which has to do with the economic sabotage of rice smuggling.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There is no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Helen! Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It is clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent and bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic 10X. Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Apic 10X challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Mortein! Presenting Mortein Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortein Power Guard.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobo to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The NTA Television College Jos admission forms for diploma program in film and television production, television engineering technology, broadcast journalism, and degree programs in mass communication, television journalism, and mass communication television production is now on sale. The sale of forms will commence 14th May and run to 13th August 2018 at the cost of 7,500 Naira only per form, payable through the remitter platform in favor of NTA Television College Jos. Forms can be obtained from all marketing offices in NTA State Capital Stations, zonal centers, Training Directorate of the NTA Headquarters Abuja, and the Office of the Academic Secretary of the NTA Television College. Applicants are required to possess 5 credits in GCE, SSCE in relevant areas of study, including English and mathematics, in not more than 2 sittings. All completed forms attached with photocopies of credentials must be submitted on or before the 13th of August 2018 to the stations where the forms were obtained. For further inquiries, please contact the Office of the Academic Secretary on these numbers. Announcer, Registrar.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? They are spread through germs which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash your hands.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA Network Service. To kickstart our discussion this morning, let's take this background report by Musa Babaliu.
Rice production and supply involve 2 issues. First is the production of the paddy, which today Nigeria is producing about 20 million tons annually. Milling or processing of the paddy is another major issue relating to supply and availability of the commodity. The rice milling capacity of Nigeria is put at above 7.5 million tons per annum. This is according to the records of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. In spite of all these achievements, activities of smugglers are affecting the price and supply of local rice nationwide. For instance, at Pangalam, border area between Nigeria and Republic of Niger, NTS camera lens captured how smugglers are bringing in rice through bush path. As a result of this, the crew visited some markets in Katsina Kano and Kaduna states, where the smuggled rice are being sold.
To, shinkafar gida kusan yanzu da ta gwamnatin kusan kai ɗaya suke.
These traders told NTA News that foreign rice is cheaper than local varieties.
With smuggling, there is no way we can achieve self-sufficiency in rice. With smuggling, there is no way the rice mills will survive. With smuggling, Nigeria will continue to be importer of rice forever.
The Minister of Agriculture, Ogwe, says the federal government will engage the neighboring countries in addressing challenge of rice smuggling into Nigeria.
It's at Christmas that Nigerians discovered that their own rice is actually better than the foreign one. They couldn't deny that now. That's why most Nigerians now rather have the local rice. The prices are a little stiff. The quantities are still growing. But in another year or two, we finished with foreign rice.
Survey shows that about 50 kilograms of local rice is sold for between 14 and 15,000 naira, while the foreign rice goes for between 13 and 13,500 naira.
All right, thank you very much, Musa Babaliu, for that background report. Now we have guests with us in the Abuja studios as well as two of our network centers to discuss this issue in greater detail. First, we would like to welcome at this time Sani Madugu. Madugu is Comptroller Enforcement of the Nigeria Customs Service. Comptroller Madugu, pleasure to have you on Good Morning
Thank you very much.
Okay. Also here with us on the studios, the familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Emeka Okengu, a development economist, but of course in this instance is also Executive Director the West Africa Green Economics Development Institute at Gregory University, Uturu. Dr. Okengu, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
It's an honor to be here. Good morning, Nigeria.
And also here with us in the Abuja studios is Alhaji Aziz Olumuyiwa. He's Director, Agribusiness, Processing, Marketing and Finance in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Alhaji Aziz, pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And also from our Sokoto studio, we have Mohammed Sahabi Ogi, Chairman, Refan, Kebbi State. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Also from our Enugu Network Service, we have Chief Innocent Itapa Azobu, Senior Special Assistant to Ebonyi State Governor on Rice Production. Good morning and welcome to the program. Welcome to the program.
It is my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are curious. We have two guests, Sokoto Network Center. There are two guests there. My colleague Kieran already introduced Mohammed Augir, who is the chairman of RIFAN, that's Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria in Kebbi State. The other guest there is Abubakar Bello. He's a member of the project management team of the Kebbi Anchor Borrowers Program. The Anchor Borrowers Program, of course, is a program of the Central Bank of Nigeria intended to give a boost to agricultural production, in particular rice cultivation. Alhaji Abubakar, pleasure to have you with us also on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, let's begin this conversation before we get into smuggling and its allied issues by first taking a look at where we are with regard to rice production and consumption in Nigeria today. And the guests in Sokoto, please take this question before we move over to Enugu. Where are we today with regard to rice production and rice consumption?
Well, as of now, we have gone very far in ensuring that Nigeria is fed with Nigerian grown rice. I know that in Kebbi State, progressively, our yield is increasing. It has been said times and over that as of now, 90% of our rice requirement is produced internally. And every year, we have more and more farmers opening up additional land and some more farmers coming into the industry producing rice. So there is great hope that in the very near future, even the remaining 10% that we were importing from our side can be matched with home production.
All right. Abalam Abubakar Bello, can we have your thoughts on this? Still at the Sokoto Network Center.
I will take on from where Sahabi left. Most definitely the production in Kebbi State has been hyped up, and there is great awareness which has been created, bringing in so many interested stakeholders into the market. Particularly, Kebbi is best to have, for now, 2 large processing mills up and running. That is the Labana and the Wakot. While we also have other smaller mills coming on board. The Dangote is coming on board. We have Jada and another plant in Kamba also coming on board. The combined capacities of these mills that are presently on process is way beyond 500 tons daily. And so far, they are able to take their paddy from the farmers around their areas of operations. So we believe in time we will be well positioned to be able to meet the needs of the country, and as a matter of fact, be able to even export what we have in excess in terms of production. So much need to be done, though, to be able to do that. We have great opportunities. We have vast land and human resources, but we need the sustenance of the enabling environment for us to be able to achieve that. And that means we really have to be able to keep the confidence of the market in place for the rice production to become a sustainable business, for it to be able to support the economy of this country.
Abubakar Bello will be returning to you in the course of this conversation, because I know that Kebbi State is among the states that commenced dry season farming. So Kebbi can boast of all year round farming. We shall get to you to know the impact of that dry season farming in rice production in that state and of course neighboring states. For now, let's get to Enugu and talk to Itapa Azobu. You are the Senior Special Assistant to Bonny State Governor on rice production, and Abakaliki is known for rice production. So can we get your view on where we are today in rice production and consumption in the country?
Thank you very much. In Ebonyi State, with Abakaliki as its state capital, the business of rice production is synonymous with the state. And with the present government, it has been raised to a different level altogether. The scale has really been raised, because with the coming in of the present administration, there's a serious sensitization that pushed the farmers into the farm, created serious awareness on the peculiarity of Abakaliki rice. Today in Ebonyi State, we have 5 metric tons per hour rice mill operational, using over 200 metric tons per day. They are running. We are establishing 3 more 3 metric tons per hour rice mill. All of them are integrated and efficient milling machines. When the present government came into power in 2015, the state government, led by His Excellency Engineer Chief Dave Mwezu, scaled up, as a matter of deliberate state policy, rice production. The first thing he did was to go into mechanization by procurement of farming equipment and inputs. Involved all aspects of the entire economy, both the rural farmers, the public servants, and what have you. So the awareness got so high that today in Ebonyi State, the story is rice production. And when he did that, one thing he did that caught the fancy of everybody is the ban of the marketing of foreign rice in Ebonyi State. So with that, today in Ebonyi State, the business of marketing foreign rice is completely outlawed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you indeed. Well, as the conversation goes on, we shall return to you for further comment. And now we are back to Abuja studio. First of all, we'd like to talk to the man who, of course, works for government. He's the director of agribusiness, processing, marketing, and finance, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. He is Aziz Moyowa. Now, from the government's point of view, where are we?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to thank the NTA for bringing this opportunity. First, I would like to talk generally on the food outlook to make Nigerians sure that we are at the verge of being food self-sufficient. Let me appreciate His Excellency the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audu Ogbe, and the Honorable Minister of State, distinguished Senator Enikins Lokobiri, for putting in place a very robust, good agricultural promotion program, otherwise known as Green Alternative. In 2016, if I should make a reference, Nigeria fell into a recession that lasted for 5 quarters.
I'm sorry, Aziz, just straight to the issue. We're dealing with rice production because sometimes we get pressed for time. Narrow all of this into the issue of rice production and consumption at the moment. We know that there is an agricultural master plan that's been rolled out.
Thank you very much. Yeah, to narrow it straight to agricultural production, most especially rice production, I would like to give some statistics from the recent NERLS survey, because they say figures matters a lot. We've been able to increase our rice production to the extent that we've been able to save close to $300 million US foreign exchange. 2, we are increasing the numbers of the milling capacity of the functional integrated rice mill in the country. From what used to be 13, we now have 21 mills. And from less than 600,000 metric tons to the current 1,295,000 million metric tons of the production of the rice, that is long grain parboiled international standard rice, which can compete with any rice, imported rice all over the world. It's also been noted that rice milling of over 5 million is done by small-scale farmers. The rice processors invested additional 250 billion investment in rice processing that is expected to come up this year. RIPA member currently employ the workforce of not less than 5,000 skilled Nigerians. We have successfully created opportunity for over 5 million farmers of the existing 15 million rice farmers in Nigeria. We created 500,000 various supplies dealers in the countries in form of employment. The integrated rice mills also employ about 2 million unskilled workers. If I should mention specifically, the estimated crop area for rice production in 2017 was over 3.9 million hectares, which represents an increase of about 6.9 million over 3.7 million in 2016. All the states recorded a tremendous and substantial increase in rice production, with Lagos State having the highest increase of about 30.5%. Rice yield has increased continuously in the last 3 years, and paddy production has seen an exponential growth in the past 3 years.
All right.
It moves from 6.9 million metric tons to the current production.
Alhaji Aziz, thanks a lot. But we'll give our viewers opportunity to digest the figures that you've been reading out. Of course, it's a rosy picture that is being painted with regard to upscaling of rice production in the country, in different parts of the country. And incidentally, we have members of, shall we say, the rice community in both Sokoto and Enugu network centers to amplify some of this point. So we'll pause you in the meantime and bring in Dr. Emeka Okengu. Dr. Emeka Okengu, from your perspective, we've always had you on Good Morning Nigeria in discussing agricultural issues. You'll listen to those who are on the field. Of course, you are also involved in cultivation of some agricultural produce. But tell us, from your perspective, are we on a home stretch with regard to self-sufficiency in rice production and consumption?
Well, thank you very much. Rosy picture being painted. We must give kudos to government. There has been a lot of improvement in volume. But we must also look at the value perspective, which is where you now bring in your cost-benefit analysis. If you look at the intro, and sometimes when intros are being done, the salient points people miss. And I take it from what the minister said. The prices are still steep. But in 2 years, we'll be self-sufficient. And this is where I think the major challenge is. And everything we're going to be discussing in this room, even if you had 1 trillion metric tons, and you're not able to look at how you can be able to, steep these spiking prices, you might find out that everything we're talking about will be paling against the capacity for you to now sustainably stop smuggling. So for me, it is one thing to talk about 12 million farmers. Let us also look at some figures that we can also interrogate in the process of this conversation. 12 million people, 4 million hectares of land. If you put 12 million against 4 million, what it simply shows is that you have each person, dealing with under 3 hectares of land for these 12 million people. And then probably also have them producing maybe 1.5, tons per hectare. That's not very good statistics. Okay, that's not too good, if you look at it from a holistic perspective. So while you look at your volume, okay, you must also look at your value. But what's important is that the federal government must be commended. Large as this must be allowed to reel out. I mean, they say when you have something to say it very loudly. But in saying it very loudly, our role is to also say, is it inclusive enough? Okay, so that if we are able to also now statistically show that it's not been very inclusive, then this is probably where we can begin to now discuss, the other flip side of it, which is what makes it important or what makes it expedient that people go through all the risk they do to be able to import rice into Nigeria. When some of this rice are being imported are rice that have been in storage for over 10 years. It is cost. The cost element is very, very important. If anybody can sell rice for 10,000, no matter how beautiful yours is at 15,000 naira, considering, also the financial challenges a lot of people are facing in the country, we are not going to be patriotic in taking rice that you're selling for 15,000 when there is one somebody can bring in at 10,000. And on a last note, so I don't take a lot of our space. If this rice is landing at 10,000, okay, to the table, then it simply means that the cost of production in those countries must be way, way, way below 3,000, 4,000 at the maximum. So the question will be, what is the secret? If we can get an answer to it, then we're on our way to Uhuru.
Well, I think the rice thing is about demand and supply, and that's what's actually affecting the prices of local.
Demand and supply. We have enough. You're producing 7.8 million. It's not demand and supply, it's cost.
Okay, fine. In the course of this discussion, well, we will discuss that, because invariably, people, how many of Nigerians are demanding local rice? That's another question. Because fine, to date, apart from Ebonyi State, which we were told now banned foreign rice in the markets of Ebonyi State, other parts of the country, there are foreign rice in the market, and they are there. Variety of them. In any case, we'll get there. For now, let's come to Sani Madugu, Controller of Customs. The Minister of Agriculture, some days ago, harped on the urgent need to shut down the nation's land borders because of the persistent activities of smugglers. And of course, the onus is on the customs to ensure that these borders are well protected. Now, What will be your contribution as an arm of, an outfit of government to ensure that if the law comes to be, do you have the manpower to actually ensure that our borders are properly guided?
Yes, what the Honorable Minister for Agriculture has mentioned, that if government has bring the law into being, Nigeria Customs Service are ever ready to take that directives given to us by government. Mind you, we are policy implementers. We are not promulgators of the law, but whatever directives given to us by government, will do it. Prior to this time, federal government of Nigeria has given us 50 patrol vehicles, which we have pushed them out to various patrol points and the border stations. We have equally gotten approval from the Federal Executive Council, which the minister is aware, that 68 brand new vehicles, also pickups, have been approved for the Nigeria Customs Service, in addition to 70 brand new vehicles that have equally been approved. 50 have gone to the field. We have 70 and 68 that are about to be distributed or about to be pushed out to the field. But Nigeria Customs Service, we are ever ready and willing to implement any government directives and policies given to us. We have 3 defense lines in customs. We have the various area commands at all the border stations and the hinterland. That is the first defense line for anti-smuggling activities. Then we have the second defense line, which is the Federal Operations Unit, which are divided into 4 zones at the zonal structure level, who now takes care of any smuggling that has passed the first defense line. Those people always make a lot of seizures. After the seizures made by the first line, the second defense line also takes care of that. We now have the third defense line, that is the Controller General Strike Force, that are in various locations, that waiting for any other one that has escaped that. We have fortified the border lines. We have done everything to take care of the smuggling of rice. We are in contact with the government agencies that are dealing with intelligence, and we are getting information from them to Controller General of Customs. Within minutes, we pass it around to all the formations of custom. So we are ready, but we are battle ready for the smugglers, and we have been making seizures. If you go through our statistics, you see the volume of rice we have seized in all the border areas and the roads leading to the border areas. They have adopted so many means. They smuggle through the water, they smuggle through the road. And another important thing is the border lines of Nigeria between us and the other neighboring countries is hundreds of thousands or over 1 million of kilometers around Nigeria. If officers and men of the Nigeria Customs Service, if we hold our hands around this border, we cannot cover the borders of Nigeria. But we are making a lot of effort to do what we call intelligence-based anti-smuggling activities. In addition to the practical one that we we make a lot of seizures. If you come to our various warehouses, the Honorable Minister for Agriculture is aware of our performances with regards to the seizures we are making. Even the NTA, you are aware, because we have been donating rice. The federal government has been giving rice to the IDPs, and these are the rice we have seized from them. We have been doing that. Even part of the rice that have gone bad through the water smuggling, we now sell it to the feed manufacturers who now produce feed for the animal feed, and we sell this bad rice to them, who now turn it into feed meal.
Controller Madugu,
Yes,
tell us something. How challenging is it to combat rice smuggling?
Rice smuggling is a very, very difficult war which we are fighting. The issue is, people now, when we block the main road, people now use their head in carrying 1 bag of rice across the footpath where you cannot even use motorcycle to pass. People use small canoes through the creeks, small creeks, and move 10 bags of rice, 5 bags of rice. In addition to women who bag half a bag of rice on their back to cross between Benin Republic into Nigeria. Okadas, they are using 5 bags, in some places 8 bags on 1 motorcycle to move into Nigeria. From the footpath to the main road, when they are approaching the town or where they feel custom officers are there, they will go back into the bush. And another one on the desert, that is from the northern part, they now deflate the tire of motorcycle halfway. So when they load 5 bags, or in their small cars where they load between 30 to 50 bags of rice, they now deflate the tires to go low on the sandy areas. So they keep going. If you follow them, if you don't have experience with our patrol vehicle, if you enter the desert, it will hook you. You will stop there. While they're on is halfway, it will keep moving on the sand. It will not be.
These are clearly, I mean, according to the laws of the country, criminal activities.
Of course, that is why we prosecute them in law court. If you go to area commands, those we arrest doing this kind of thing, we keep prosecuting them in the law court. So many of them are facing prosecution in various area commands. The Nigeria Customs Service is not relenting in its effort. We are doing a lot with regards to smuggling activities. The Controller General of Customs is passing orders and directives. He visits these areas physically, and he sent the circulars and directives and intelligence to all the area commands to be able to arrest some of this. Presently, we don't want to talk in the camera. We have a lot of intelligence with regards to rice smuggling in the neighboring countries. We are tackling that. We are vigilant, and we have mounted surveillance on them. Very soon.
Controller Madugo,
Yes.
I want to tell you this, that reports have it that in those neighboring countries, there are warehouses constructed close to Nigerian border, and they are stuffed with rice. It is a planned business. Of course, you know that smuggling is a huge business for those involved in it. Now, is there any kind of collaboration, perhaps at the diplomatic level, with those countries where those smugglers have really established, including Nigerians who live in those countries? Is there any kind of collaboration or MOU between Nigeria and such countries to see how you can curb the menace of rice smuggling?
Yes, there is always collaboration and cooperation at the diplomatic level. One time I was the customs area controller in charge of Ogun State, which had the closest border lines with Benin Republic. We go for meeting in Nigerian embassy in Benin Republic at Cotonou. But the unfortunate thing that whatever you discuss with them, the government and the agencies of those countries will not favor any policy that will support. At one time, Nigeria Customs Service donated 10 vehicles to the Beninois, pick-up Hilux vehicles to Beninois, so they will be escorting transit goods into our borders before handing over to the Nigeria Customs Service. They started that for a short period of time with regards to the smuggling of vehicles. They did that with the old vehicle. They never escorted a brand new vehicle. And brand new vehicle is where the government will generate a lot of money. We have 35% duty, 35% levy. They didn't do that. A lot of smuggle took place with regards to brand new vehicles, despite the effort done by the Nigeria Customs Service by giving them vehicles. Federal government authorized customs to give them vehicles to us to encourage them to escort it. That is one. Another aspect is with regards rice smuggling, building of warehouses near the borderlines. Smuggling and selling of rice within Benin Republic is not prohibited. And parboiled rice that is being imported into Nigeria, they don't consume it in their country. It is targeted towards Nigerian market. No matter the number of ships they bring in, they cannot consume 1% of what they bring into the country. All the 99% that is coming in, if not 100%, is targeted at Nigerian market. This smuggling is being done by almost all the community towns within the border towns. That is the problem and the challenges the Nigeria Customs Service is facing. Very few of the traditional rulers are cooperative, but majority of them are being paid by the smugglers. A situation where a young graduate who now graduated from the Nigerian University and now took up a job with Nigerian Television Authority or with the Customs or with Federal Ministry of Agriculture or with the private sector, whatever they do, you pay them, how much will you pay him? It will not be more than 100,000 naira per month. But smuggling a bag of rice, an Okada rider who smuggles 8 bags of rice 5 times in a day, he goes home with 40 bags. 40 bags, if you do it, he makes 1,000 naira per one. That means 40,000 naira in a day. If he does that for 10 days, that is 400,000. If he does it for 20 days of a month, that is 800,000 naira. Leave 10 days off for him to rest. Out of the 800,000, he will end up spending 100,000. He goes home with between 650 to 700,000 naira in a month. What kind of job will you do in Nigeria that can give this? This is the most lucrative business for them to do rice smuggling. But customs are not relenting. We are fighting. Yes,
Controller Madugu, thanks a lot for the information that you have just disclosed. I mean, if an Okada rider, that's a motorcyclist who is a mule, as it were, for smuggled rice, is earning that much, of course, the cost to the economy is the equivalent of what he's earning. I was going to ask you whether, upon the arrest of the smugglers, they are interrogated, and what kind of information do you elicit? Like drug dealers. I mean, the information, of course, became clear after a while that those mules who were being arrested at the airport were only small fries. There were much bigger persons, you know, behind them. What do we know about the financiers or the real brains behind smuggling? And are these persons being brought to book, or are they being brought to heel?
You cannot cross to another country and arrest people and bring them back to Nigeria.
No.
Those people
are the smugglers. Are the Beninese the only ones who are importing?
No, I'm coming to that.
Yes.
They could be Nigerians, Beninese, any other country, national of any other country, residing in that country, bringing in rice to sell in that country. An Okada rider can be able to buy 5 bags of rice with his own money. If it is 10,000 times 5, that is 50,000 naira. By the time you cross it over, he has ready market for it at 11,000 naira or at 12,000 naira, and he gets back his money quickly and go back. Smuggling at larger scale is difficult now because of the way we have tightened the border areas. So that is why the small people now go. You hardly find, except very few ones that have established warehouses. All the warehouses in Nigeria that we have gotten information, there is no place Nigeria Customs Service have not gone and evacuated the rice to our warehouses. And in most cases, these warehouses are owned by different people. People come to hire the warehouses for 1 month, for 2 months, for short businesses. And in border communities, people store rice in their residences. You cannot force your people into personal residences where somebody lives with his wife and children, but dedicated war room where he store rice before moving it to the market or before moving it to the next town. And sometimes we go into bushes and forests and open detached houses where they now store rice. 200 bags, 300 bags, we have been evacuating, we have been seizing it. This war is continuing. They devise new means, we equally devise new approach, and we always see the rise.
All right. When they devise new means, you devise new strategies. All right. At this point, let's return to Sokoto, and I'd like this question to go to Mohammed Sahabi Oge, Chairman, Refang Kebbi State. Now, from the explanations by Comptroller Madugu, it does appear that this criminal act of smuggling is adversely affecting the entire rice production chain in Nigeria. Now, what are the areas that are really hit by this smuggling, you know, with respect to the entire production chain of rice in Nigeria?
I think Elias, our speaker, has mentioned the issue of cost of a bag of rice. One costing 15,000 naira per bag and another 10,000 naira. So for the consumer, chooses what he thinks is cheaper. It is cheap, but unfortunately he doesn't consider the health hazards normally that come with that, with smuggled rice. That rice smuggled could be 10 years, 5 years in store in those countries where it was produced. And sometimes it's even treated with chemicals that will keep it looking good. So if you eat that rice, you also have to be ready to face your doctor to actually fill your medical bills. So I think it's always good to make people understand the hazards, that come with smuggled rice. The good rice the only good rice that could come in the country is import is the rice imported by the seaports. So it's good for the consumers to understand, although the rice from foreign countries is cheaper, it is not good enough as the rice we produce internally. That's one. And again, doing that will go a long way to discourage farmers inside the country to go into production. We have many people who want to produce rice, but if they can produce and fail to recoup their expenditure, they will definitely be affected, and they may, go back home and sleep or take another way of living to actually keep on living. So I think it's very good that we make more effort, especially to enlighten the communities through which this imported or smuggled rice is coming to the country, to understand the harm it is making to this country. We can't depend on foreign countries to feed ourselves when we have the land and we have the farmers who are ready to actually do it for our country. So I think it's very good that the custom department should be up and doing to ensure that the intensified force to stop that rice coming to the country.
All right. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Let's bring in again Abubakar Bello, who is right there with you in the Sokoto studios. Malama Abubakar, earlier Dr. Emeka Okengo was talking about cost as being one of perhaps the underlying factors encouraging smuggling. I mean, if a bag of domestic rice, that's to say Nigerian rice, costs say 13,000 or 14,000, and imported one is 10,000. And of course, a rational economic being will go for that of 10,000, and then versus that's the landing cost right at your table, which means that back home where this rice is being produced, assuming there's no dumping, then the rice will be much cheaper. What are the cost factors that rice farmers normally would encounter, and to what extent has the Anchors Borrower program been a relief?
Well, all what has been discussed here and the position that we have reached today is because of the enabling environment which has been created for the farmer in Nigeria to be able to produce. Before the intervention by the federal government and hyping up of the production in this country, a bag of paddy rice at one time here in Kebbi cannot exceed 4,000 naira. That does not mean that rice imported through other countries will go as low as, if you like, 6,000 naira a bag. You still buy it at 9,000, 10,000 even at that time. So it is important that we clamp down while addressing the costs associated with our own production, so that we can be able to bring down the cost of rice to the affordable stage by almost everybody in the country. Production costs associated, particularly in Kebbi here, include the cost of petroleum products, because most of our farmers are doing irrigation using tube wells and small scale irrigation water pumps. Similarly, the cost of other inputs, fertilizer, agrochemicals, and labor. We need to address these issues consistently so that we can be able to bring our cost down. Why don't we explore, for example, the use of alternative sources of energy to power up and irrigate our fields? We have the solar pumping facilities that can be deployed. A lot of research needs to be done so that the cost of, for example, fuel, which accounts for more than 50% of the cost of irrigation in this part of the country, can be brought to this minimum. What is the possibility of having more mechanization into the agricultural processes so that we bring down costs? If we're able to do that, most definitely we'll be able to be more competitive and bring down the cost at the end of the day, so that our rice can still be affordable, not only addressing the health issues associated with imports. We need also to address the financial aspect of production. We have large-scale dams scattered across these nations where we can use flood irrigation to service many farmers, so that cost will also be brought down. We need a lot of investment to develop water channels so that we can utilize these vast resources that we have to bring. But most definitely, all these cannot be achieved if we start to soft pedal on looking at what are the challenges, and the smuggling is being a menace. Whatever measure we do, smuggling will always be a menace, whether it is on rice or other associated products. But what we need to do is to be consistent and persistent in addressing our issues so that we can be able to bring these costs down and make rice available, give employment to our team in populace, open up employment opportunities, and increase the income of our people. That is what we need to do.
Okay, thank you, Malam Bello. And let's return to Abuja and speak to Aziz Moiwa. Now, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture alluded to the fact that price disparity between foreign and local rice is a huge problem, and he noted that will be gradually addressed in the next 2 years. Now, given the time frame, what is government doing to push for cheaper rice processing in Nigeria, at least to bring down the cost of locally produced rice?
Yeah, thank you very much. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture, as we are aware, is currently working on ways and methods of bringing down the production of locally produced rice. For example, we're supporting inputs to the farmers. We are also trying to make available to farmers, to small-scale farmers, the processing equipment. In addition to this, we are helping them with small-scale irrigation, most of those in Padama areas. We are supporting the farmer with herbicides and all other inputs. And apart from that, like you have said, there is a point I need to critically clear here. That when you look at the price, you must know that this is an international trade war. There's a lot of subsidy by the exporting country, like Thailand. You can imagine an ambassador of Thailand who wants, the past ambassador who once proudly walked into a minister's office and say, I have been given an award in my country because I promoted the exportation of rice into Nigerians. So we've done the study and we discovered that the disparity between the price of the imported rice and the price of local rice is not too much. When you look at the FOB, that is free on board. Assuming this rice is produced without cost of freight, without the cost of insurance, you just produce it in Thailand, it should get to Nigeria not less than between 13 to 14,000 naira, which means there's a lot of subsidy being put in there. And like one of the speakers said, there is a negative and strong correlation between the rice imported into Republic of Benin and into Nigeria. Please, if you allow me to quickly explain. The per capita consumption of rice in Republic of Benin is 34 kg. The implication of this is that an average Beninians will eat 34 kg of rice in a year. And the total population of Republic of Benin is 11 million, which means the total rice required by Republic of Benin, assuming Republic of Benin is consuming long grain parboiled rice, what they consume is white rice. The total they are expected to import should not be less more than 400,000 tons. Now, if you are exporting, if the Benin Republic is receiving 2 million metric tons of long grain parboiled rice, you should know that the destination for that rice is Nigeria. And when you import rice through the land border, you are evading the 70% duty, including the all other levies which we are supposed to collect through the sea borders. Now, to solve this problem, if I should quickly go to the point, to address this problem, government is working by making available improved variety of seed, because once you are able to increase the productivities, our productivity used to be less than 1.7 metric ton per hectare. Please let me quickly finish this. Has now improved to 7 to 6 metric tons per hectare. So in other words, government is also working on subsidy, because that's the only way for the rice processor, because once we are able to beat down their price and they are subsidizing their own exporter, if we are able to subsidize our rice market now, which government is working on it, and within the shortest possible time, we will be able to see the effect of this subsidy. If we are able to subsidize it too, that will be in a long way, that will address in a long way the price of the rice. Once the price disparity, we've been able to eliminate this, Nigerians will now see the advantages of eating local rice, which is good in terms of it, it's nutritious, it has not stayed for a long time, it's not rebag, and you are sure you are eating good quality rice. So government is working, including the irrigation facilities, to support and to make sure that we are able to produce. In addition to increase the productivity, we want to produce this 2 or 3 times a year, and that is why a lot of funds are now being made available through Federal Ministry of Water to ensure that we irrigate our land, because we get more output on irrigated land during the dry season than. If you look at the hectare of land put under the dry season this year, it has increased tremendously, and this is why we're able to shorten the demand and supply to what is now BRS 1 million metric tons. We will soon be there. Once there is surplus, the price will fall.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Aziz Olumoyiwa. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll interrogate further the economics of subsidy, particularly with rice production, and therefore using that as an alternative to decreasing demand for smuggled and imported rice. We'll take a short break now.
Helen!
Your kitchen gets 10 out of 10. Thank you. This also gets a 10. Should we see the toilet now?
Sure.
This gets just 1.
It's clean.
But not perfect 10.
Better than my detergent bleach? Impossible.
Challenge? Try the new Apic X. Compared to bleach and detergent, Apic sticker formulation removes yellow stains times better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow.
Now you also take that
Harpic 10X Challenge.
Also available in 200 ml pack.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Every day, I see patients who come to me suffering from infectious diseases caused by germs, from typhoid to diarrhea, flu, cough. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily when we use the toilet, from our door handles, from other surfaces. We transfer to others without realizing. That is why I recommend Dettol Antiseptic Liquid. Protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the NTA. Let's quickly go through some of the tweets that we have now before we return to our guest. This is from Victor Ohioswoma, and he tweets, now the menace of rice smuggling is worrisome. It's economic sabotage, but closing the borders is not a long-term solution. The Customs Service and other related security agencies should be empowered, and we should collaborate with countries of origin to check the menace.
Now, from Abdullahi Sabi, he says implications of closing the border because of rice will have adverse effects on citizens of both countries. Another means other than closing the border should be employed.
Abdul Musa tweets, now the smugglers are the well-to-do in the society. It doesn't provide any proof of that, by the way. Now he says the smugglers sometimes connive with those saddled with the task of checking smuggling to achieve their economic sabotage. All security agencies must be involved in the fight against these economic saboteurs if progress is to be made.
Now, Ugochukwu Amagula says, now, I think the best way to address the issue of rice smuggling is attack the open market.
Amagbola tweets, now, as the federal government makes moves to close the land borders against incessant rice smuggling, we must not forget the fact that there are over 3,000, according to him, unofficial border points across the length and breadth of the country. This should also be taken into consideration by the federal government.
Now, Festus Akimbewa, federal government plans to shut our land borders to stop smuggling of rice into Nigeria is a product of strategic thinking and should be supported by all Nigerians. It also send a strong message to our neighboring countries that we're now ready to protect our hardworking farmers.
Damola Oluwade tweets, now, to grow Nigeria, we need to stop smuggling of some agricultural produce like rice. Our national borders must be strengthened by the federal government for socio-economic development.
Delajak Solomon, let's remember that the federal government had reduced rice importation by 95% and increased the number of rice farmers from 5 to 30 million within a period of 2 years. These economic indices and our health safety must be protected without affecting other import-export businesses at the borders.
Again, from Amagbola, it says, beyond closure of land borders to forestall rice smuggling, the federal government must take into consideration the overall effect of such other food imports. We must not lose sight of the fact that rice importation only accounts for less than 5% of food imports.
In addition, if these figures your man is telling us is true, why is rice so expensive here in Lagos, generally in Nigeria?
And Stanley tweets says that the policy to produce what we eat locally is a good one, but the government could encourage farmers and manufacturers before closing their borders. Well, Kira, those are the tweets that we have. Let's bring in Dr. Emeka Okengwe again. You listen, of course, to the economic argument. How might this assist in terms of discouraging importation and therefore discouraging smuggling, while there's an uptick in terms of consumption of locally produced rice?
Thank you very much. I think my brother Sani laid it very well. And if Nigerians didn't listen to him, at least we in the studio should have listened to him. What he just said to you is that this is very, very difficult to accomplish. In fact, it is not possible to close the borders. And he gave very graphic expressions of it. But in also following up what it is he said, it's important to also all appreciate that this is all about profit and loss. So to the man who is outside the border, his only interest is to make money. And as long as he has markets, goods follow markets. And that's where, when Kirian was talking about demand and supply comes in. What's not very clear to us that we've not understood yet is that we're not very close to Uhuru. That you've become 5% close to self-sufficiency does not make you a rice production nation. What it makes you is a subsistence production nation, because you are able to produce what your country is consuming. You can only enter into what you call the politics of international economic relations, or enter into that rice round table when you now start struggling for what you call your market share. What's that market share? That out of the world demand of 1 billion metric tons, that Nigeria says we are not only self-sufficient, we also now have 20% or 30%. We want to stop this war. Very simple. The same attitude, the same strategy that those who are flooding our market are using is the same thing we should use to be able to fight it. Forget about, yes, they must do what it is they do, intelligence-based. You can only send them that much. Gentlemen, Niger State is the biggest producer of rice in Nigeria. I think they have about 500 and something thousand metric tons, followed by Kogi, followed by Benue. These are all contiguous states. Now, what they do is that you now have rice farms. The day we turn those farms into belts is the day you can, within this of 7 million production, increase it to 40 million. I'm coming, sir. If you get first, we want to stop smuggling. The first thing we need to do is to show capacity. And that is what to show strength. To show that our reserves have enough of what you might call a 4 to 5 year strategic reserve. That you can now begin to now say, we can sell this thing even at 1,000 naira for one bag. The same boys who are smuggling, we are also now going to give them licenses to start exporting. The day we start taking Nigerian rice into those warehouses that Alhaji Madugu had expressly explained here, and you go in there and you see Abakaliki rice heading towards Europe or Russia, even if we are going to be exporting them as poultry support feeds or whatever it is the day we are going to now start talking about the economies of scale. One, that's one part of it. The other part that we must look at, and each time we talk about it, like I keep saying, we glance over it. Alhaji Aziz says we are supporting farmers with inputs. Inputs from where? Input from India? Input from China? Where are the pesticides coming from? Where are the fertilizers coming from? Where are even the pumps coming from? My brother in Sokoto had talked about, you know, the flood system now helping to flood these fields. You see, these are the programs that we can all put together to say we have a holistic strategy. Leaving this thing for customs or the security services to do, we be putting the right seed on the rock and then throwing water at it. What I think we should is to be able to take 3 very bold steps. Step number 1 is for the federal government to make a pronouncement that in the next 2 years, we are going to be exporting rice, including the white rice that my brother Aziz had talked about. We are going to make certain that out of the 400,000 metric tons that Benin consume, Nigeria will get 250,000 metric tons into that market. And every other market where rice is sold, for crying out aloud. And how do we do this? 1, let us get our research institutes involved in this. Let us get our universities involved in this, in the input level. Each time I'm given the privilege to come and speak about this, I keep saying to you, if you don't know what you call the hidden cost, this is this small bottle of insecticides or pesticides, okay, that you spray and you go to the market and you buy it for 2,000 naira. By the time you're running through that rice, trajectory, you've burnt about 10,000. By the time you calculate that against the 12 million people, you're talking about trillions of naira that you are doing direct purchasing from either India or from China. Ditto for your machinery and equipment. So the clear economics, and that's what I talked about, we must be able to look at the cost-benefit analysis. If you like, seize the more bags of rice you seize, the people who are bringing it in are bringing it not because they want to sell, but because they want to make certain that their people stay at work. The taxes that those who produce those rice in Thailand and Vietnam and all that are enough for them to lose what it is. And again, it is not their money they are losing, it's people's money. You go to the bank and borrow money. The rice that Alhaji Sani is seizing is money that people have gone to borrow from banks, and these are Nigerians, not the foreigners. You go and buy it. So the rice you're wasting or throwing away or seizing are actually now more capital flight going out of Nigeria. So on a last note, my point is very simple. I don't think the security angle and putting a lot of pressure on people like Sani, because I saw somebody say something that was very unkind, that the security agencies are also collaborating with these people. I think it's a very unkind statement if you know what they're up against. What I think we should do as a country right now is to say, Aziz, we are giving you a challenge. You are the man in the ministry. Tell us what volume of inputs we need vis-a-vis equipment, vis-a-vis pesticides, vis-a-vis input, vis-a-vis X. And then in the next 2 years, as a policy of government, we are going to make certain that we reduce this dependence by at least 60%. 1. 2. We are producing 7.8 million metric tons now, or 7.5 million metric tons. We will make certain that in the next 2 years, we're going to be producing 16 million metric tons, and 6 million metric tons out of this will be what we're going to be throwing inside or into the international markets to make certain that whoever it is that is bringing is going to be matching our price by price, naira for dollar at that point.
All right, it's interesting actually, because what you have told us now has to do with a holistic approach to the entire thing, including the machinery, the seeds required to get the white rice or whatever quality that the nation is looking out for. Now, let's get down to Enugu once more. Chief Innocent Itapa Azubu, we've not really forgotten you. In your initial analysis, you told us that in a state, no market has foreign rice. That's a very good news, especially for Salim Madugu. And we would like to know also, how does this impact on the price of rice in that area, not just Abakaliki, but entire communities in Ebonyi State? Is it making any headway with respect to the pricing of rice in Abakaliki area?
Thank you very much. It is making a very serious impact in the sense that the awareness has increased within the people that foreign rice is of less value to the locally produced rice. You know, one thing about the Abakaliki rice is the nutritional value. The content is so high in terms of nutrients. So, and because of that, it is no gainsaying the fact that it has been publicly established that most of these foreign rice that come in are not only adulterated. In the course of preserving them, they undergo a lot of chemical content. So because of this, and because of the effect of smuggling, which has affected the market, as a matter of state policy, more with that, and it is working for us. But the truth of the matter is that smuggling still persists. Because this smuggling still persists, people now, instead of coming to buy from Abakaliki, go to other areas, other neighboring states to ban. There was a time I suggested to my governor, I said, can you talk to your other governors, your other governors in other states, to adopt the same policy? Because the issue about smuggling is market and money. The moment there is no market for this product, then this thing will drastically reduce. I want to thank the customs for what they're doing, but they need to do more. We are in an age that is no longer analog. This is a digital period. Their surveillance should increase. They should go into the markets. They have the capacity, whatever it takes. We are a large country. Whatever it will take to patrol the borders, we have to do it. Then go into the market. Make sure that these products are not sold. Taking in one bag into the market, 5 bags, 3 bags, they aggregate obscure corner somewhere in the market. Discover where they are, and then make sure that they are not sold, either in bags or in moods or in whatever form. The moment you do that, then the market will drastically reduce. The moment that is done, as long as these things come in and they are displayed openly and brazenly in the market and sold without any qualms, this thing will continue because the people are making their money. Take it or leave it. The people who are involved in this business are not you and me. They are serious tycoons who are doing the business. The moment the market is killed, then we will now be sure that whatever we produce can now be sold here. We'll be talking of food sufficiency and food security. It is only then that we can now go into the international market to compete. When we do that, the government should make sure, go into our silos. Today, they are all empty. There's no strategic reserve. So as long as we're not doing that, there's no buyback procedure that in the event of glut, that these things have to be bought back, then we have a market for it.
All right, Charles Wobu, thanks a lot. I mean, there are a number of points that you are raising now in terms of having strategic grain reserves and so on and so forth. I was wondering, who enforces the ban on the sale of imported rice in Ebonyi?
Thank you very, very much. It is an outlawed product. We have a special office designated for that. The office of the special assistant to the governor on marketing goes round to enforce it. Both in hotels, in the open markets, in the stores, in the rice mills, you don't see any foreign rice. The government charged every individual, wherever you see foreign rice, report to the police. So, and it is in place. In fact, if you bring foreign rice in a Abakaliki today, in a Ebonyi State today, people will be laughing at you. Why are you eating this? Are you not conscious of your health? Don't you know what the government is saying? Don't you know the health implication? And do you know that you are committing a serious economic sabotage for which you... These are the issues in place. The moment we do this, and our penchant for foreign products, is a problem. Take Abakaliki rice today, juxtapose it with the foreign rice, cook it, test this one and test this one. You will see the difference. So this is the problem. So if we don't understand, just like
Chief Azwobu, thanks a lot. We are pressed for time. My question very briefly goes to Comptroller Sani Madugu. It's something that comes up. You talked about seizures and your warehouses being full of products or produce that you have raided from other warehouses.
Yes.
Does the customs have any inhibition with going to the open market to also raid smuggled or imported rice?
You know, whatever the Nigerian Customs Service is doing, we are servant to the people. We will not go to a place where lives will be lost. By the time we go to market raid, thousands of people are there. By the time they start shouting, ole, ole, you won't know when people start stopping us. And if we shoot or fire a shot into the market, we are now scaring them. We are very mindful. In addition to anti-smuggling activities, we are as well doing what we call trade facilitation. We are to encourage trading activities in the market. If we start going into market rates, that means we are now doing another aspect. But going to warehouses, designated warehouses, we can go there and raid. But to enter market, it is not part of our operation.
So which means that for smugglers, once you can get the rice into the market, you are safe?
No, that is not what we are saying. If you have designated warehouses within the market, if it is within the market, we can go at night. When the market is closed, we can go and open that warehouse and remove the rice, because we don't need a warrant from the court to open warehouses and remove the warehouses, because we are covered by the law to do that.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for your input this morning. It's been very inspiring. Sani Madugu, Comptroller Customs, thank you for being part of our program this morning.
Thank you very much and good morning.
And quickly, let me say thank you too to Chief Innocent Etapa Azwobu, Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Ebonyi State on rice production. Thank you for your perspectives on this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. All right, let's go over to Sokoto and appreciate Mohammed Sahabi Ogi, Chairman, Refan, Kebbi State. Thank you. It's been wonderful talking to you this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. And also Abubakar Bello, Member, Project Management Team, Kebbi, Anchor Borough Program. It's been exciting listening to you this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for coming. And of course, the man from the Ministry of Agriculture, Aziz Muyowa, Director, Agribusiness, Processing, Marketing and Finance, Federal Ministry of Agriculture. It's been a pleasure having you on the show this morning. Yeah. And of course, Dr. Emeka Okengu, a regular here when it comes to economic development matters. Thank you for your insight this morning.
It's a pleasure, privilege. Thank you.
Now on Good Morning Nigeria, we continue with sports.